If you're currently in a relationship that's making you feel anxious, drained, hurt, confused, misunderstood, or you just got out of a relationship that made you feel that way, this video is for you. What's up? My name is Dante. I am a transformational coach specializing in breakups. I've helped people all over the world heal their attachment patterns, get out of toxic relationships, and attract a partner that they're really, really excited about. I've also been in a lot of relationships, had a lot of great relationships, had a lot of toxic relationships, and I'm currently in the most beautiful relationship of my life thus far with my beautiful soulmate Danielle here in Florida. And I have really, really spent a lot of time hurting and learning to figure out exactly why we get burned in relationships and how to overcome that pattern so that we can actually start attracting healthy love. And I'd like to share that here with you. So the first thing I'd like to highlight here, whether you're in the relationship currently that's toxic, chaotic, not what you want, it's very painful, or you just got out of that, it's important to understand that the first gift that these relationships have for us is they're helping us build more resolve. What is resolve? It's that tendency, that intention to say, you know what? I'm sick of being sick. I am tired of dealing with this thing, this situation, and enough is enough. I'm not going to do it anymore. You have to touch the hot stove a bunch of times until you get enough suffering, you get sick, you get tired enough where you're willing to walk away. So that is one passive kind of benefit these toxic relationships have is they're bringing us closer to that point. Right. One of my favorite fond sayings that I'm fond of saying is you have to hit rock bottom to blossom. And that's exactly what these relationships are helping you do. They're helping you hit the relationship rock bottom. So the second thing that's really, really amazing, even though it doesn't feel that way in the moment or off, freshly off the relationship, out of the relationship, it's helping highlight our attachment styles, our attachment patterns, our wounds. It's helping point that out for us by having the person mirror to us basically how we were treated by our parents, usually, is what that comes from. The dynamic we had with our parents and family and environment growing up sets the stage for our relationships later on in life. So it's going to highlight what those patterns are for you. Maybe you are stuck in a pattern of people pleasing where you're trying to give and give and give into these relationships without seeing any return, without getting any reciprocation. You're putting all this investment, all this care, all this intention, consideration, but the other person's not reciprocating. The other person's not responding in the same manner. It's showing you where you're trying and you're proving and you're efforting and you're struggling, but you're not getting the same treatment in return. It's really shining the light on how relationships were modeled to you, basically. So that is another really, really big gift is it allows you to hurt in the relationships. Just like that game Operation that you might have played, when we were kids, where you touch the side, you got to take, for those of you, I don't know who the hell, the two of you that don't know what Operation is, you have to take these little plastic pieces out of this like body. It's like a cadaver basically, but the guy's alive. He's not dead. So maybe not a cadaver. And you're trying to take these little pieces of plastic that are like bones in different parts of the body out without touching the sides of the person. If you touch the sides, it buzzes and it's very, very shocking. Not literally, but you're trying to avoid that. So that's essentially what's going on in these relationships is you're touching the sides every time your wound gets activated. Every time your attachment style or these relationship patterns gets activated, that's essentially what's happening. But instead of a loud buzzing noise, it is just emotional pain. That is helpful information. That is showing you, hey, this is where your attachment style is. This is where the pattern lives. This is where the pain lives. And that's where we can actually start doing the work. That's where we can actually start, doing some of the magic to start healing those wounds, healing those patterns, resolving those so that they stop playing a part in your relationship. So they stop being activated in your relationships, and you're no longer playing out that dynamic. So it's bringing attention to what your patterns are, what your relationship attachment style is. That's very helpful. It sucks. It's not fun. It's not a fun process, but it's helpful information. Again, something that's happening passively. Number three, it's also waking you up to this big realization that you can't change somebody. It doesn't matter how much you love, how much you invest into a relationship. If the other person is not happy, if they are not regulated, if they haven't done the work to heal from their own relationship patterns and attachment styles and what have you, then they're just going to be bringing all that into the relationship. And it doesn't matter how much you love them, how much you do for them, how much you care, how much you show how much you care, how much you invest into the relationship. If they're not stable, happy, and healthy, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're not going to be appreciative. It's just they're just going to soak it up like a bucket with a hole in it. Doesn't matter how much you put in there, it's just going to always leak out. And they're never able gonna, oh my God, they're never going to be able to match and reciprocate that same level of investment into the relationship because they can't. Their own traumas and patterns and attachment style is weighing their energy down, and it's preventing them from being happy and healthy and really stepping into the relationship with intention, with care, with consideration, with reciprocity. Your needs matter too. How you feel in the relationship matters too. And if they're not caring about that, caring about the impact their behavior has, that's not something you can change. And that's another passive benefit that these relationships are helping you wake up to, is that it doesn't matter how hard you try, you can't change somebody. They have to want to change, they have to go do the work. And once they make that decision, then you can be supportive. Then all the investment you're bringing into the relationship really makes a difference because they're also doing the work. So it doesn't mean the person has to be perfect. I mean, that's nice when they've already done the work and they're not doing it while they're dating you. But I know situations where that's been the case, where somebody's been doing the work and they're not totally healed, and but the relationship was still beautiful and it still worked and it was really amazing. So there are cases for that, but traditionally you want to choose somebody who has already gone through that process and done the work, and they're coming to you from a healthy, vibrant place. So that's another powerful passive benefit of these toxic relationships. It's kind of waking us up to the fact that it doesn't matter how hard I try. There's nothing I can do to fix a toxic person. Now, why do we get attracted to these people who aren't really a good fit, who are even toxic, even emotionally, sometimes, in really extreme cases, physically abusive? It comes down to two things. So we talked about attachment style, our own patterns, the things that we became familiar with. Typically, this comes from our parents, sometimes our family, or our environment that we were in during our childhood and early upbringing. That sets the stage for what is familiar in relationships. So we'll unconsciously drift into and choose partners that reflect the type of relationships that we were exposed to and modeled early on in our life. That's what we'll think is normal. That's what we'll think is familiar, not healthy, not pleasant, not what we'd like to choose, but we will time and time again find ourselves in those relationships, find ourselves choosing those relationships because it's familiar. So that's half of it. There's like this familiarity, but the other half of it also has to do with our own traumas and attachment style that we're holding on to. So traumas weigh our energy down, and when our energy is down and low, that's when we typically settle because we're lonely and we're craving all the great things that a relationship provides. So think about the honeymoon phase of a relationship. You have somebody who sees you, they're attracted to you, there's flirting, there's playfulness, there's fun. You guys are going on dates, you guys are having adventures, you're laughing, there's of course physical intimacy. So there's so many benefits, so many pleasurable, stimulating, enjoyable things, aspects, elements about a relationship that makes it very enticing. And because of that, and because we're holding on to trauma, which is lowering our energy, so we're kind of like in an emotional deficit, all these things combine to make us choose partners that aren't really fully vetted. So we haven't really established, hey, have you been into therapy? Do you know what your traumas are? Do you even know what attachment styles are? Hey, how do you handle conflict when inconvenience strikes, or when we have disagreements, or when we're not totally aligned? Do you get defensive? Do you go on the offense? Do you try, attack the other person? Do you try to gaslight them? What's your relationship with conflict? And what's your level of investment? Do they really want you for you, or are they also kind of just getting caught up, swept up in the enticement, if that's even a word, of a new relationship, and they're just kind of looking at you from a surface level, looking at how shiny you are, right? Physically, what they can get from the relationship and not what they can give. And that what they can give should be naturally inspired because the connection they have with you is so fucking powerful. This is why I have, or this is why I have my clients, and why when I was dating, tried to hold off physical intimacy as long as possible until that connection was established and really vetted and made sure that that was present. Because once you introduce physical intimacy, it's like a bonding agent. It's gasoline on the fire. It really accelerates and compounds the connection that you have with somebody else. But if that connection's poor, if they're just wanting to date you because they want a distraction, they just want to feel good, they don't actually see you for you. They don't think you're fucking amazing and incredible. Now you're creating a deep bond with someone who is not really a great fit for you. And that's where later on, once the high of the honeymoon, phase dies down, now they're left with themselves and they're left with you. So what's the relationship with themselves, and how do they really feel about you? Do they think you're amazing, both when you're at your best, but also when you're at your worst? So we settle for people who are not compatible because we're wanting to borrow from the honeymoon phase to make us feel better. We want to use that relationship to soothe. So as we get more honest about what we're really wanting from our relationships, do we really want stability, or are we still chasing the high of the honeymoon phase and we don't really care how compatible the person is? We just kind of want a feel good distraction. As we get more and more honest with ourselves and we get more and more sick of being sick, what tends to happen is that we go, you know what? I'm done with this. I don't care how shiny and enticing it is. I want something with depth. I want something with substance. I want someone who really sees me and they really fucking love me. And yes, we're going to go on adventures. Yes, we're going to have playful banter and flirting and rapport and physical intimacy, but these things are the cherry on top. What's really important is the stability. What's really important is the health. They're happy, healthy, they have a great relationship with themselves, and we can work through conflict together and have that be a beautiful, rewarding, fulfilling experience where on the other side of that, we feel more deeply connected and secure within ourselves and within the relationship versus something that just blows up or just gets swept under the rug. I remember I had a client, we'll say her name is Sarah, and she didn't come to me for like relationship stuff. She came for me more of like nervous system regulation and like spirituality. But inevitably, as we started working more and more together and she became more and more happy and we were having different breakthroughs and shifts, she realized that her relationship with her husband was terrible, and her husband was constantly making her feel like crap and just wasn't reciprocating all the amazing and beautiful things and energy that she was bringing into relationship. He was kind of just there, kind of just taking her for granted, and there wasn't this I see you factor and the wanting to do things to show and yeah, to show that he cares and that she was special to him. That magic, the passion, the consideration, that glow was stripped and missing from the relationship because this person had all these different traumas and different attachment styles and patterns, and he was just refusing to work on himself, refusing to do anything about it. And he would get defensive and try to redirect, and blame her and like turn it about her anytime she tried to talk to him about this stuff. And the sad thing is that when you choose somebody who's not compatible and you guys get into these relationships, and a worse version of that is a marriage, it's like, A, you don't want to walk away because there's all this like time investment. If you walk away, it's like, oh, I just lost all this time basically, which is not true. Although you're getting so many lessons, so much awareness, so much clarity from that. It's totally not a waste of time. By the way, as an aside, but then also you think that because now you have the relationship, now you're married, you can just stop and give up. And that's exactly where he was at. And it's like you can only try to be there for somebody like that for so long. If they just refuse to grow, they refuse to talk, they refuse to take any action, eventually you have to do what's right for you because you are drowning at that point. You're both drowning, and they don't give a shit. They're not wanting to swim to shore. They're just like, whatever, I'm even gonna like step on your head and push you down so I can try to breathe. They're just using you to distract themselves. Or worse, they were getting swept up in the high of their relationship, didn't really vet to see if you were a good fit for them, and now they're kind of stuck with you. And the longer the relationship goes, the more that feeling really sets in like, oh, damn, this is who I'm with now for the rest of my life. Shit. That's where the resentment comes in. That's where they stop trying. All the little things they were doing in the beginning that were special and endearing and beautiful start to just slowly fall away, just crumble away. Because they were chasing the high of a relationship, they weren't really chasing you. And I use chasing here in a positive way. And that's the real revelation that occurs the more you go down this path of dating to distract versus dating to connect, dating for fulfillment, dating for the pleasure of the honeymoon phase versus wanting to actually build something safe, secure, stable, but also very beautiful, very exciting, and very fun. All right. And that's exactly where you are. Either you just got out of a situation like that or you're currently stuck in one. And that's where I come in handy. It's exactly why I'm put on this planet, is to help you navigate these toxic relationships, heal from them, get out of them, heal the attachment styles and patterns that attracted these people into your life in the first place and made you resonate with them, heal the underlying attachment styles and patterns and wounds and traumas that made you feel like the honeymoon phase was very exciting and it was worth settling for, or ignoring red flags, or just, looking the other way because, it's fun and you wanted to feel good. Healing that so that you can actually hold on to your standards, feel good, and choose a partner that really sees you, really gets you, and really thinks you're fucking amazing. Okay. So if you want that result, I would love to work with you inside my academy to help heal those underlying patterns and help you choose a partner that's an amazing fit for you. All right. So if you scroll down, you can see some testimonials I have from past clients, and also get a little bit more information about what is inside my coaching program. It's called Top Shelf Academy, because that's the energy that we're going to embody, top shelf energy. And that's not from a very arrogant or egotistical. I mean something of high quality, something with standards, something that just doesn't, let anybody come in. You have to also be of quality to date the quality. And that's where we're going to get your energy to. So down below, you can see testimonials. You can see what's inside of the coaching program. You can see the prices for that. And there's a button below that you can book a free call with me where we'll meet one-on-one and I'll learn about your situation, what you're going through. We can have a conversation about that and just talk about it. Talk about your situation. Just be really real. You can ask me questions. I'll ask you questions. And at the end of that conversation, if it feels like a good fit and you think I can help you, then I'll tell you a little bit more about my program and we can go from there if it sounds good. So there you go. I'd love to help you solve this problem. You deserve love. You deserve to let go of these attachment styles. I know how, shitty it is. I'll tell you a little bit about my story since we're at the end of the video. So again, if you're sold, if you're good, you're like, yes, I want to solve this problem. I think your energy is great. Let's set up this free call so we can see if it's a good fit and, see if the next step is a good idea, if it's logical, if it makes sense. Go tap that button. But for everybody else, I'm just going to go into my story real quick so you can learn a little bit about me. Okay, when I was a kid, I was so happy. I talked to everybody. I had, little girlfriends all around. And as I grew up, though, my mom and dad got divorced, and that really affected me. It made me very sad. I started getting bullied. I had a narcissistic father who, if I brought home like bad grades on my report card, he would throw a chair across the room, scream at me, and so many more terrible things than that I don't really want to get into. I don't want to like trigger you or shock you too much, but that's just one minor example of like the kind of environment that I was in. And because of that, my self-esteem just was shredded. So as I grew up, I felt very socially anxious, very depressed. I had like no self-esteem because my dad basically bullied me all the time. And as I got into relationships, I don't know how in my traumatized state, somehow I got into relationships. And whenever we'd break up, I remember just feeling so depressed. Like my first big breakup after a relationship of like a year, I was totally in love with this girl, head over heels, when I was like 17. And I remember she broke up with me. She actually cheated on me. And I was so depressed, I actually used self-harm with like, razor blades. And I just felt awful. Like that's my relationship. That's what my relationship with breakups was at the time. It was severe depression, self-harm. As I grew a little bit older than that, right? 18, 19, I started smoking weed, drinking a lot, chain smoking cigarettes, using things like pills, opiates to try to numb the pain that I was in. Yes, from the breakup, but also just from all the trauma I was carrying from all the things I went through growing up, and also the relationship patterns and stuff that I got. It just made me very insecure and had so much low energy. So if I was in, let's say, a healthy relationship, the person would eventually like leave because I was so traumatized. I didn't really bring anything to the table, really. I was very insecure. I was very anxious. I got very jealous because this person was basically the shining light in my life. They were bringing all this good energy, and the relationship itself was a source of good energy. It's somebody that, accepts you and is showering you with affection and praise and good energy. And all my relationships would start really good in the beginning, but eventually, because I wasn't in a good place with myself, I would just need them too much. And when they would break up with me because, the relationship came to an end, or being around that like neediness and insecurity and jealousy was just so off-putting that they would break up with me, it'd be devastating. And as I grew older, I started settling for toxic, disrespectful partners, partners that would put me down, partners that would physically assault me, partners that would emotionally assault me, emotionally abuse me. And I wouldn't really care because the physical intimacy and the honeymoon phase of the relationship was just such a great distraction from the pain that I was in that I would just put up with it, even though it was so painful, even though it hurt so much, because I didn't want to be alone with myself. And it took almost dying because I was having so much, unprotected physical intimacy with so many different partners. I ended up getting syphilis and I didn't know I had it for a while, and it almost killed me because it made me so sick. After I got treated, it took about a year and a half of being bedridden in a trailer in Utah. I was living with my uncle at the time. He was like helping nurse me back to health. And it took me about a year and a half to even get back to like 40% of what I was before I got sick. Like I would take a walk for like a half hour walk with my uncle, come back, be just devastated for the rest of the day. So like major, major health issues, major, major health problems. And this is what kind of really, really, really like woke me up to how attached I was to like lust, to physical intimacy, to relationships, how much I was settling and tolerating. At the time, I still had a relationship with my narcissistic father, and I was putting up with a lot of his abusive behavior and neglectful behavior. So once I got that sick, I realized I didn't have the energy anymore to deal with this stuff. So I ended up just like cutting off so many people. I started like um becoming very reflective, and I started bringing more awareness to like my attachment patterns and my wounds and my traumas. And I started looking for answers and ways to let go of this stuff. I started doing different seminars, buying courses, learning about trauma, learning about nervous system regulation, learning about attachment styles and patterns. I just put so much money and time and resources and energy into studying and really, really mastering this stuff so that I could start to heal and let go of these patterns and let go of these different attachment styles and things holding me back and making me resonate with toxic partners, making me settle for them, making me put up with the red flags and the disrespect and the abusive behavior, and also let go of the resonance for just tolerating like mediocre people as well. Maybe they're not abusive, but they're just not compatible. There's just not like, yes, there's no abuse, but there's also no magic. There's no passion. There's no real interest. Like they don't really see me. They're just kind of like meh. They're like slightly above a platonic, friendship. But I'm just settling for them because I just don't want to be alone, right? So I had to get over all of that, and almost dying and getting super sick and having my health be just fucked was a real great help in terms of that. It was an amazing gift. I'm so glad it happened. It helped make things so clear for me. And I started letting go of some trauma. I started healing. I started getting more awareness and like stepping back from these different patterns. And that's when I started dating healthier and healthier and healthier people. That's when I started feeling better and better and better in my body. That's when I stopped, when a breakup happened, I stopped um, feeling super depressed, number one. Number two, I stopped trying to numb with substances and stimulus, endless episodes of True Detective, perhaps, or smoking a bunch of weed or going out drinking. I let go of a lot of different habits. I don't drink at all. It's been about 5 years. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. It's been 5 years. I don't medicate after these experiences anymore. Um, I also, I also didn't, I stopped blowing up their phones. That was like another thing, right? Calling them a bunch, texting my exes, trying to get them back, repeating that same cycle of you break up, spend some time apart, and then inevitably you just get pulled back into that toxic relationship because you're wanting again the honeymoon phase. You're remembering and reminiscing over all this the nice moments you had and ignoring all the toxic bullshit. You're like, hey, maybe it wasn't that bad. Right? Maybe this time it'll be different, even though it's not. Even though every single time you come back and give them another chance, they show you exactly why you left in the first place. I broke out of that cycle. I got free. I made it out. I hopped over the wall, put those pillowcases together, slid down, and I Shawshank Redemption my ass out of there. Okay. And now I have the pleasure and joy of doing the same for other people. And I love it. I love seeing people go from, being stuck, feeling so much pain, and then getting out and attracting somebody who thinks they're fucking awesome. I love seeing that look in their eyes when they finally meet that person and they're like, holy shit, I didn't realize this was possible. I never thought this person existed. That's what I want for you. Okay? Because you deserve it. And because I know how shitty these relationships can be. And I spent so long in that same situation dealing with that toxicity. I know how much it can eat away at you. I know how much, you know, how painful it can be. And the worst thing is not just dating these people. That's the surface. At a deeper level, it's having children with people like this. One of my clients, will say his name is Sam. Um, he has a child with his ex, and she's so abusive to this guy, and she has like she doesn't care at all how that's gonna affect their child. And because of like laws and where he lives, it's like the courts are very, very against him, and he's tried, but it's just futile and it costs so much money. And he just kind of has to like make the best of the situation. And I've just, there's so many times where I've seen him just like break down and cry because of how horrible, not just how horrible he's being treated. We kind of working together, we kind of got him over that, but more so how painful it is for his daughter, because his daughter is growing up around that influence and seeing like that's the dynamic of what love looks like. That's what's being modeled. Marrying somebody who's toxic, who treats you like shit, losing half of your assets that you work so hard for. It's like there's so many deeper repercussions, ramifications, and pain points that come as a result. It's not just the relationship, it's what attaching yourself to the wrong person can do. I mean, take a look at like Will Smith, for example. When he slapped Chris Rock, that's not something a healthy, person does in a healthy relationship. This is just my viewpoint of it, from as a coaching standpoint. I see some of the headlines, and that's all I'm kind of basing this off of, relating to how his well, I don't know if they're still married or not, but how Jada treated him. And it's like it feels very much like he's been settling a lot for somebody who's just tolerating him, not someone who's like head over heels for him. And when you spend so much time in that and somebody, cracks a joke, instead of handling it with humor and grace and and healthy masculinity, it's like he then saw that as like a threat and a chance to prove himself, to try to get, earn some of the love. And you should never be earning the love from your partner. It should be unconditional and given. And that's why it's so important to break out of these patterns, because they can steal so much time from you. Not just cause you pain, but it's the time they steal from you, and it's the deeper ramifications of what can happen when you're stuck with somebody like this, how it affects your children, right? The opportunity cost, what it prevents you from doing. So let me help you solve this problem. Let's get you out of this situation. Let's get you into a healthy relationship, feeling amazing, feeling happy, going on adventures, and just putting this chapter behind you, taking the lessons from it, using it to grow, using it to heal, and then closing that book, putting it on the shelf, and getting on with your life to bigger and badder things. All right, so tap that link. I'm excited to meet you on that free call, get to know you more, get to know your situation, and see if it'd be a good fit for us to work together. All right, see you then. I appreciate you being here, giving me some of your time to watch this video. Hope it was helpful. Hope it gave you a couple aha moments. And I'm excited to help you have a breakthrough and let go of this pattern forever.